Hi, good day. I'm Marcus Alexander and welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'm going to do a basic registration functionality. Basic means that it's going to work, but it's going to look very ugly. But the idea is just to have it working and get to the point as minimum code as possible. And later on in other videos, I'll show you how to improve that look. And let's begin. I have XAMPP running already. And let's do some basic stuff like hmm, let's create our database. I did created a database in my last video, but I'll do one again. So in MySQL, click admin. I have my table here already. If you haven't done already, click new and create a very simple table name like hotel or something like that. All right. So I have my table already. And what information do I plan to capture about the user? Well, in my case, I already planned that I'm gonna capture the person's um, first name, last name, email, password. This is pretty much the most important stuff. The other stuff is up to you. So I'll add contact, address, city. All tables need to have a ID, so I'm gonna say user ID. I'm gonna call this table users, plural. That's just my way of doing it. So this is my table, and the information or the columns I'm going to have will be user ID, first name, last name, email, password, contact address, and city. And there's some stuff I'm not going to ask the user to enter, but I need to store it. Like, for example, what's the date you registered? I'm going to call it reg date. And I need to know the user type. Like, meaning if I plan to have an admin and I use on different types of users, I'll have a user type here. So I planned this already. Of course, it may look like I just typed this off my head just so, but the truth is I planned all these things already. So I know what I want to capture and it's time to do it. Let's create a database one time. So I'm going to create a table called users and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 columns. So each table must have its ID. I'm going to call the first one user ID, first name. By the way, you see how I type the word first name? This is just my way of doing it. You can type things how you want, but there's certain rules how on how you can name something. In a nutshell, no spaces and keep it simple. Common letters, very simple, please. Very, very simple. So first name, last name, email, password. Let me zoom in a bit. Contact, address, city. Sorry, contact address, city, right? Reg date and user type. Now this is very important. The first one must be an int and auto increment. Very, very important, right? And for the types, first name, what type of information I'm storing? Am I storing numbers, decimals? Well, in this case, it's a varchar. Varchar is like a text. Well, you see how we say text in English? Well, in the database, that's what a varchar is. A text in a database means something completely different, right? We'll not get into that, but please use varchar. Last name is varchar. Email, varchar. Password, varchar. Contact, you may be tempted to say int because our contact number has numbers, but the truth is most people don't really enter numbers alone, and unless you plan to force a person or capture only the numbers, let's be safe and put a varchar. Address varchar, city varchar, registration date. When in a database there's some called a date time, and user type is a varchar. All right. Now for the length, what's the maximum number of characters you're going to allow to store? Well, for integers, you don't need to put a length. For a first name, well, I'll just put a basic number, 100. That's kind of long, right? But it's cool. Email, 100. Password could be very long. We'll do some encryption, and I'll talk about that later. Contact, our contact doesn't need to be 100. I'll just put 20. Address, just put 200. Doesn't matter, right? Just don't put it too low. Do not put it too low, right? That could be an issue. City, well, a city could be 100, although that 100 is kind of too much for a city. I'm not going to put anything for reg date, and for the user type, I'll just put like 20. All right. And Next is, since the user is not going to enter the registration date or the user type, for the default column, that's this here, right? So default column for the registration date, I'm going to say current time. So that means if you don't enter anything, the time is going to be put there. And for the user type, if you don't put anything, which I'm not going to allow them to do, then I'm going to put as defined, your user type is user. So by default, once you register through the site, you're going to be called a user. Once again, let's make sure that auto increment was ticked for the first one. It was. And let's tick save. And that's it. I'll come back to this table very shortly. So let's design our page. So Apache, I'm going to my project. And I took off the just paragraph, but let's build our page. Registration. Now, for PHP to take information from a page, it needs to have a form tag. So I type form and press tab. Then I need an action. The action is the page that's going to process the code. I'll put the registration.php page. Method equals post. That means to send information in the background. All right. Let me type my first field now. First name. I just text. And input tab. Let's do this again. Input tab with a type text makes this a text field. So I use keyboard shortcuts a lot, which is Control and S. So you will not see me you will not see me doing this often. I'll be pressing the keyboard shortcuts. All right. So I refresh. So there goes the first name field and the input. Let's put some space. BR to skip a line. BR to skip a line. Save. Refresh. There we go. So let me create my other fields. Well, let me type it. Last name space. Input tab. Type text. And XPR. Let me see how it looks. Good so far. I'm kind of lazy, so let's copy and paste. 1, 2. Can't remember how much I have, but so first name, last name, email, password, address. Oh, sorry, I keep forgetting. Contact, address, city. Control and S, save. First name, last name. Oops, I forgot to have too much for this. Alright, first name, last name, email, password, contact address, city. Let's put a button now. Input tab with a type submit makes this a button. If I click this, the page needs to refresh, right? You may not see it, but it is refreshing. So that's a good sign. So we know that PHP needs to have information in a form tag, but for PHP to take information from these fields, it needs to know its name. And I need to name these things. I am going to be very consistent here. Now, this has nothing to do with your database as yet, but I'm going to be consistent with my name. So I'm going to call this first name. Right? You can put whatever word you want, but I am being consistent here. First name, last name. I'm going to call this field email. I'm going to call this password, address, city, and I'm going to call this button registration. Control and S. Nothing changed here. Oh, by the way, you see this pop up? Let's cancel this and let's get in the habit of not clicking that refresh button anymore. It means something, but I'll explain that some other time. So let's go up here, click enter, and it works, right? So let's start with PHP codes. And a student asks, does order matters? Well, in this case, it kind of matters. So we're going to put our PHP codes to the top of the page. And the first code they're going to learn is if tab. Let's take off this condition and take off this. And in here, I'm going to type is set tab. Remove this capital. Type it exactly how you see it. What I'm basically doing here is saying I'm checking to see if a button was clicked. So I have a button called registration. I'm checking to see if it was clicked. If it works, I'm going to say echo, you clicked a button. Echo means to display something. And let's see if this works. Control and S to save. Go up here, click enter. And if I click this, I'm supposed to see a text saying you clicked a button. There it is. Now, what happens if I put the wrong name? Like, for example, this is called registration. And I do something like this. Control and S. Let's go up here, enter. Nothing happened, right? So it's very case sensitive. So let's keep that in mind. Next important code is let's pull whatever information you type in here in this field. So I'm going to create a variable which is a made up word. I'm going to call it first name, $ first name equals to post first name. Now what's happening here? Well, this part, post, it means I'm looking for information from an input with this name. So do I have an input with a name equals first name? Let's see. There we go. So basically this is saying whatever information, so the name of this input is called first name. So if I type Marcus, then the code is saying take this information, take the information from that field and store it in this variable. And let's test this. Let's see if it works. Echo means to show something. And let's say your name is $ first name. Control and S. Up here, click enter. Marcus. Submit. It works. That's a good sign. So let's do the others. Last name. And I'm lazy, so alright, so first and last name, email, password, contact, address, city, and I don't think I need this. First name, last name, email, password, contact, address, city, first name, last name, email, password, contact. Alright, that's good there. So it works. I don't need this anymore. And let's now get some codes. This is a comment, alright? This is just me typing something. Please don't type this. So I'm gonna put the codes to insert the information in database. Let's go to W3 Schools for this. W3 Schools. There are different versions of PHP. I think 7 is the latest, but you're not gonna, well, it doesn't matter. We're going to server side and PHP. We're scrolling down and look for inserts, right? So a registration page is inserting information to the database, so I need an insert PHP codes. We are going to use procedural. This is very important. I'll discuss this in class, but please keep in mind we're using procedural. We're not using object oriented. We're not using PDO. Procedural. I'm only going to copy this. Keep that in mind. Look at it very carefully. This is all I'm going to copy. Why? Because if you watch my other videos, I already have this code here. I don't need to close the connection. So I copy this alone. I'll put it here. Let me neaten this. Tab. And now, I did mention before that every time we connect our database, we need to use these codes, but we learned in the video before that we don't need to copy and paste codes over and over. So instead, I'm going to say include connection.php. So we connected our database. So I'm going to put some comments, but do not type this. This is just for you who is viewing the video. Connect to the database. Get info from the user. And this is the codes to insert information in database. I'll take this off for now. Let's just carefully, very carefully, leave SQL equals quotes, right? There's double quotes I'm using. And how do we get the SQL query or the code to insert something in a database? Well, for inserting information in a database, here's a little trick. We can back to our database, my user table. See, users. I'm going to click insert. I'm going to manually insert something here. We don't ever enter the ID number, right? So I'm going to say first one is admin. The email is admin@mail.com. This is a made up information. It doesn't matter. I use the same password over and over. Contact, address, and by default this information is provided. So I'm going to manually insert this information, and let's check this out. It gave me the query to insert information. So I'm going to highlight this. You may not be able to right click and copy. So two things, you could either Control and C to copy or copy this part here. All right. And I'm going to very carefully paste the codes in here. For the values, I can just press enter here. I need to space it out a bit. So I have the code to insert, but this is hard coding. It means that it's going to insert this information over and over. I don't want to enter the same information over. Instead, what I want to do is when the person enter information in these fields, I'm going to store them in these words, and then this is going to insert, or that's the information that's going to be inserted in the database. So instead of admin, so for the first name, what I want to store here is first name. Once again, this part represented what is the first name you want to enter. Well, that first name is stored in this word, so I put it here. What's the last name? That's stored in a variable here. What's the email address I want to enter? That's stored in a variable called email. Notice I'm being very careful. Do not remove these or type these quotations manually, alright? I'll discuss that, but don't do it. So first name, last name, email. Let me zoom out. $, password. $, is very important. Students tend to miss these things. Let me zoom in again. Contact for the address. City. I do not timestamp is a keyword. The SQL and the database knows what this means. Don't change this. Don't change this. Remember, these values are being inserted by default. So once again, I have my query. The first part says these are the name of your columns, and this part says what are the information you want to put in the database. And I'm saying, hey, I have a variable $ first name, and this stores the information that you typed in the field. And if that works, it's going to say new record created successfully, or let's make this up, registration was successful, right? It doesn't matter. Now I want to test this code. For insert queries, something could go wrong. A very simple mistake could go wrong here. So let's say echo the SQL, and I don't want to insert information over and over, so this is a bit of testing here. I'm going to say SQL equals select star from users. What am I doing here? I'll just say it as briefly as possible. I want to see the query I'm running, but I actually don't want to run this query. So what I'm doing is I'm going to put another valid query here. It's going to work as if something happened, but the truth is nothing's going to happen in the background. But the point is I just want to see this query. So I want to see what's happening here, but it's going to run a query. It's not going to do anything, but it's going to look as if it works. So let's test this. Up here, enter. Let's type some info. John Doe at mail.com. Password 1. 777 1234. Address under the sea, the ocean. If I click submit, it's going to look as if it works. Oh, I have an error, so that's good. But before I go to this error, remember I said I want to see the query. So this is the query that's being run. Nothing works, nothing was inserted into the database as yet. This was here before. So I can look at the values part and I see that I did enter John, it's here. I did enter Doe. The email part worked, the password part worked, but for some reason the contact didn't work. So I like how this error popped up. So I'm on 914, I got an undefined index, which basically means I have a word called contact. I have a variable called contact, but PHP doesn't know what it is. It doesn't has any information in it. So let's look at that. And most likely this is a typo. So I have a made up word called contact, and it's looking for a field called contact. Do I have a field called I input called contact? No. So you see, my mistake here. Very common mistake any student can make. Let's try this again. Remember, nothing is actually being inserted as yet. It just looks as if it works. Doe at mail.com, password 1, contact, under the sea, the ocean, click submit. It looks as if it works. You see, registration was successful. Nothing actually happened there, but the point is I want to see my query. And if it's missing values here, it means that I did something wrong. So I know for sure this will work. So let's wrap this up now. Let's take this off. So let's do a recap. I have my form tags. Action is the page that's going to process the codes, which is the same page. Method equals post means to send this in the background. I named my fields. They are very important, as you just saw. I have my PHP codes up here. It checks to see if a button was clicked. I connect it to my database. I pull the information from the text fields and store them in variables. And I run a query. And then if it works, my registration was successful. Control and S. Let's try this one more time. It should work now. John Doe at mail.com, password 1, contact, under the sea and the ocean. I click submit. Registration was successful. Let's check the database. All of my information is here. So there goes my registration page. It's working. Let's make one very important change here. I'm going to PHP encryption. What is it? Encryption. PHP password hash, I think. What is it? Let's go to PHP hash password. Oh, so we're gonna do some encryption here. So you see how I have my database in my my password stored in my database? That's a bad practice. If someone hack my database, they have access to everyone's password. So I'm gonna do a bit of encryption and I'm gonna follow password hash. Let's go to W3 Schools. W3 Schools PHP password underscore hash. Oh, wrong one. My apologies there. There it is. Oh, it's not here. Okay, it's not there. So let's go back to the actual PHP manual. And basically what I'm going to do is, let's hash the password here. The password is now equal to password hash. I'm going to put password here and default. I think it's default. Where's the examples here? Oh, there it is. My apologies. So the name of the function, oh sorry, the code to hash the password is password underscore hash, and we're gonna put in the password followed by password default. I'm not getting into too much details in this. It's a bit technical. So basically what that does is that I took the information the person entered, I stored it in this word. But now I'm saying, hey, um, could you take this password you entered, encrypt it, and store it back in here? And hopefully this should work. Let's try this one more time. Let's try Mary. Oops. Mary Jane. Mary Jane at mail.com. Password 1. Contact. Um, Port of Spain. Port of Spain. And let's click submit. Registration was successful. Let's see the database now. Check this out. My password is encrypted. And this is why I put the password length, or the original length is 60 here, but I put the password length to, what was it, 200 or something like that. See, my password length is 200 characters long. So that's encryption here. It's very useful. It's very important. It's a bit technical because there's more to it. Like you need to understand what does password default means. But this is the original. The PHP has a website for the documentation. So use this website. It's very helpful. The problem with this is that it's not really, if you're kind of new to program, it's kind of confusing. But I'll provide the links to that soon. So that's it. I hope this video wasn't too long. Next video will be the login functionality. Goodbye.